how to mount a Logix 3800 positioner to an air-to-open or air-to-close FlowAct actuator with the use of a direct mount block. For air-to-open actuators, there's no need for tubing. For air-to-close actuators, external tubing is required. Install the follower arm onto the positioner shaft with the stroke length markings facing away from the positioner. Tighten the lock nut with a 13mm wrench. For air-to-open actuators, remove the metal plug from the positioner housing with a 4mm hex wrench. Removing this plug allows air from the positioner to be routed through the direct mount block and into the actuator. For air-to-close actuators, leave the plug installed. Air will be routed to the actuator with external tubing during a later step. Apply a small amount of Teflon paste to the metal plugs. For air-to-open actuators, install the plugs into the positioner's ports A and B and tighten with a 6mm hex wrench. Next, install a metal plug into the bottom port of the actuator and tighten with a 6mm hex wrench. For air-to-close actuators, install a plug into port B of the positioner and a vent into the bottom port of the actuator. Install a pneumatic tube fitting into port A of the positioner. For air-to-open actuators, install the O-ring in the direct mount block. For air-to-close actuators, the O-ring is not required. Align the holes in the block with the threaded holes in the positioner, while ensuring that the O-ring aligns with the pneumatic port in the positioner. Install 4 bolts and tighten with a 5mm hex wrench. Orient the follower pin plate with the numbers facing out and the unthreaded holes toward the bottom of the plate. Line up the 2 unthreaded holes in the plate with the 2 threaded holes in the stem coupler. Install 2 bolts and tighten with a 5mm hex wrench. There are 4 threaded holes in the follower pin plate. Each hole is specific to different actuator sizes and stroke lengths. In this instance, we are installing the pin for a 253 size actuator with a 20mm stroke length. Install the pin in the appropriate hole and carefully tighten the pin with a screwdriver. The positioner has a clutch mechanism that allows for rotation of the shaft in either direction for easy adjustments. Rotate the follower arm until it is pointing toward the positioner's pneumatic connections and is horizontal when in the middle of the free range of travel. For air-to-open actuators, install the O-ring into the supply port of the actuator yoke. For air-to-close actuators, the O-ring is not required. Rotate the follower arm and slide the pin through the slot in the follower arm. Align the 2 holes in the direct mount block with the 2 threaded holes in the yoke. Install 2 bolts and tighten with a 6mm hex wrench. For air-to-close actuators, install a pneumatic tube fitting in the top port of the actuator and a vent in the bottom port. Then install a piece of tubing and tighten the fittings. Once the positioner and tubing is securely installed, the positioner will need to be calibrated. For details on calibration, see the video Logix 3800 Positioner Quick Calibration. It is important to ensure that the follower arm is approximately horizontal when the actuator is at mid-stroke. This can be observed during the calibration step. If the follower arm is not horizontal at mid-stroke, it is likely that the follower pin has been installed in the wrong hole. For complete installation and operation information on the Logix 3800 digital positioner, download the IOM at flowserve.com or contact your local sales representative.